This podcast is for entertainment purposes only and does not constitute professional advice. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are the speaker's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of their affiliated organizations.
Welcome back to Ready to Connect, everybody. I'm Lisa.
I'm Heather.
And unfortunately, Ryan's not with us this week.
We're missing Ryan this week.
But he'll be back. Don't worry about that. But we do have another special guest for our series of interviews and stories with amazing and dynamic people. But before we get to our special guest, what you been up to, dear?
Oh, well, happy belated 4th of July, everyone, right?
Well, not belated. Yeah, it'll be belated when this comes through. That's right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I hope you were out there doing festivities for the 4th of July. I hope everyone was safe and happy. Certainly took advantage of celebrating the 4th of July.
Did you?
Yeah, fireworks and good family, good people.
You were out in Massachusetts, right?
Out in Massachusetts, hanging out with friends and family.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. It was a good time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. How about you?
Same. We didn't really travel anywhere. We just stayed at our house, and because it was so hot, made use of our pool. We don't have AC, so the only way for us to cool is to float in the pool. Hey, that rhymed. And, we had family come through. I actually got to see all three of my children over the course of the weekend, not all at the same time.
Yeah, but that's great.
Yeah,
it's always great when they all circle through.
Yeah, and it was real exciting. We had, of course, my daughter and her family come in the morning on Friday. On the 4th, we just basically, it's just my husband and I just floating around in the pool. But on the 3rd, we had my daughter and her family came out in the morning, and they were making use of the pool again. Everyone's trying to stay cool. And it was fun to watch my grandson now, because now he's pointing at people and he's trying to say things. And he said, up hop, when he was pointing to Mike, Grandpa. So, yeah, and I'm still up hop too. I'm trying to get him to say grandma. Although when it was just him and I, he did lean over and say, I miss you so much, but nobody heard that.
Absolutely. Had a full conversation with you. I love you, Grandma. I miss you so much.
But basically, it was just a weekend of just trying to stay cool, float in the pool, reading my books. I did finish pretty much reorganizing my art space for myself, so that is a blessing. And on Monday, I spent the day in the car driving my oldest son down to JFK so he can catch a plane down to Chile, and then driving back. So 6 plus hours in the car in the rain. We've had a bunch of rain in Connecticut, so
we needed it though.
Right after the heat, I guess, to cool everything off. But that's basically my weekend. Just seeing we had some neighbors come by. That's about it. So are we ready to get started for our interview?
We are.
All right, so let's call in our special guest for our interview today. We have Hilary Rudenauer from Resonance Healing Arts in Tallinn, Connecticut, and we're so happy you're here with us.
Thanks for having me.
Are you ready for all our questions that we have for you and to talk about what you do and who you are?
I'm so ready.
Awesome. So tell us, for those of our listeners who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, let's see. Where do I start? So I own Resonance Healing Arts in Tallinn, but I've been in the holistic world for, a very long time now. So I opened up Resonance 2 years ago now, but I've been in business for a lot longer. So I do things like Reiki and somatic experiencing, yoga, sound healing.
For people listening, what is somatic?
Yeah, so somatic means of the body. So somatic experiencing is a modality for experiencing the body. It's a way to connect with yourself that was designed to help us release stuck energy associated with trauma and stress in the body.
So important,
Yeah.
A lot of us are very disconnected from our own bodies, and not just the physical body, but the emotional component that goes with physical trauma too.
Absolutely.
Really curious to know what first pulled you into the healing path. Why this path for you?
I found my way here because of my own journey. So I was a young person who struggled a lot. I'd experienced some pretty intense stuff as a kid that I had kind of blocked out. And so once I was a teen, I was just really depressed, really anxious. and I just really didn't want to be here. And so I was lucky enough that my parents were, supportive and open-minded. And so, they wanted me to try all the traditional, healing, Western, medical healing approaches, but they also took me to yoga classes. And so I always say yoga was my gateway drug. That was kind of my first in, and that exposed me to everything else that I've come to love and practice.
Yeah.
You've worked in so many healing communities. What made you say, okay, it's time for me to build my own?
Yeah, I just had this moment in, I don't know what, it was maybe 2024, where I just had the sense that I wasn't going to be staying where I was at. I was part of another lovely center. And I remember it was the solar eclipse that April. I don't know if you guys remember that. But that we all could see here, in the Northeast. And there was something about that time that I was like, I don't know exactly where I'm going to go or what I'm going to be doing. But it was like that eclipse was like a pivotal moment. All of a sudden, it just felt like a pressure cooker. It was like, you're going to figure out what's next, do or die, like sink or swim. And so I just kept putting one foot in front of the other, and I was like, okay, I'm going to open my own space. It's time. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know where it's going to be. I don't know what it's going to be called. I just know that's what I'm supposed to do. And so that was the start.
So it's like a spiritual epiphany you had during that time. It's funny because the tarot card I pulled this morning was all about maybe a possible spiritual epiphany for people today. So,
I love that.
Yeah, be aware. Maybe another one's coming. You never know. So you said you felt it was time to open up your own business, didn't know what it was going to be called, but you settled on the name Resonance Healing Arts. So the word resonance, what does that mean for you in this particular format?
Yeah. So I was totally stuck on the name, and I toyed around with all kinds of different things. And then I was reading something, I don't remember what it was, and I came across the word resonance, and I was, it was a word obviously I was already familiar with, but for whatever reason it just clicked, and I was like, oh, that's the thread. That's the thread of everything that I do, right? So, when I think about resonance, I think about what it feels like to resonate with someone, right? And so if we think about, when you feel a sense of resonance between yourself and another person, there's a connection that helps you to feel safe and comfortable. And I feel like that's the place that, like, all my work is done from, right? Is that if somebody feels safe enough in the presence of another, then like infinite healing is possible. So, but also in somatic experiencing, there's a principle of somatic resonance, which is related to how we can energetically kind of sense into what other people are feeling. When it comes to sound healing, obviously resonance is involved. Energy work, resonance is involved. So I just knew that was it.
So you talked about being able to hold a safe space, and just curious, you talked about past trauma that you've had. Do you think that lived experience is something that you use? Has it helped in your own healing to shape how you hold space for your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I think ever since I, started my own healing journey and started to come to terms with everything that I'd been through, it became very clear that I could share my story to support others. And so even if I'm not explicitly telling others what I've been through, and the goal is not to make it about me, of course, but I'm always coming from the place of empathy, of understanding, right, of knowing what it's like to go through that dark night of the soul. And I think that foundation of understanding really helps to create that container and that safe space.
I think we all bring that to our healing, don't you think
Right.
so?
I believe our experiences in life are what our niche is when we do get into working with our community, right? Like your niche of whatever your past is you can resonate. Again, great word for your business, right? The resonance of who needs to come to you and work with you as a healer.
We find that in our own business between Heather and I, the clients that come to see us for their Reiki healing, sound healing, whatever it may be, it always ends up being the client picks the right practitioner for them. And then if there's someone brand new and they say, well, I don't know, I just felt like I had to come to you, we find that their experience is very similar to our own. And since Heather and I have very different lived experiences, it's interesting how they find that person energetically, I guess.
Yes.
And we can then help create that safe space for them.
Yeah. And I love how you guys say that's just so like matter of factly, like it's just of course. And to me though, that was like a realization, right? To understand that I would draw to me the people who had had similar experiences as I had, and that's exactly what's happened. And so my business has become, so much around working with individuals who are on a trauma healing journey, because that's been my own.
And that's something they can find on your website, right?
Yeah.
Is that under the healing intensive, or because I was looking at your website and just in awe of like all the wonderful things that you do offer. And I saw Reiki training, which is awesome. It's a passion of Lisa and I's, obviously. And so if I wanted to look more into the somatic healing and look more into all the other modalities that you're offering, would that be on the healing intensive section of your website?
There, or under the book a session page, there's all the different modalities that I offer, including somatic experiencing and nervous system healing.
What do you think people don't understand about Reiki healing or somatic healing or all the different modalities that are out there? What is the one thing that you always walk away going, I wish somebody could hear more about this?
That's such a good question.
Because I know Reiki gets thrown around a lot, and people are kind of like, some have the great conception of what Reiki is, and then some people are like, I have no idea what that is.
And then some people call it Reiki.
Oh, Reiki. Yes, I love that.
For the
For the Reiki. I love that too. And you
Reiki.
Reiki. Yeah.
So what kind of misconceptions have you come across that, you wish, or how do you handle them even?
Yeah, there's so many. I feel like we could have a whole podcast just about that. So I'll start with somatic experiencing. So with somatic experiencing, I think the biggest misconception is that people are going to have some kind of big cathartic release, and on the other side, they're going to feel better. And in the short term, that might be true, right? They might, cry, or their body might shake, or, they might have some kind of experience that feels cathartic, and they might feel some relief after. But that sort of like flashy, showy stuff that you see on social media where people are crying and shaking and all of a sudden, on the other side they're healed, is really just not actually how it works.
Don't you love how the media has portrayed what we do
exactly
to happen in one little nugget of 2 minutes,
right?
And you're done,
and you've got your healing set for the rest of your life. So I think people come to me seeking that sort of an experience, and then what they find is that the work is surprisingly slow. It's surprisingly slow and we use the word titrated, right? So we're taking little bits at a time, because the nervous system really prefers to digest things slowly and incrementally, because trauma is something that happens that's too much, too fast, too soon. And catharsis just mimics that, right? It's this like big, explosive kind of an event. And oftentimes what happens on the other side of that is that you feel relief for a moment, but then you go right back, right, to this like maybe
reality kicks back.
Right. And so for somatic experiencing, I think the biggest misconception is that it's going to be quick and it's going to be dramatic. And the reality is that's very slow.
I have found in years that... Hey everybody, love Ready to Connect? Become a Patreon supporter for $1 a month, and that'll earn you a shout out or a credit roll.
Love Ready to Connect? Why not support us with a Ready to Connect Enthusiast tier? For $5 a month, you get exclusive content, as well as power voting on our next topics, in addition to everything you get as a Ready to Connect supporter.
If you love Ready to Connect and you want to become a Ready to Connect insider for $10 a month, in addition to everything that you'll get in the other two tiers, you will also get a chance to be a guest on our podcast. All tiers, no matter how you choose to support Ready to Connect, you will be getting the podcast episodes a day early.
Thanks for supporting us.
Lisa and I have been doing this, and even prior that, people think it's an instant fix, and it's not. And I think the reason why people do think it's an instant fix is because of our medicines, our big pharma, who has put it out there like, oh, you take this pill, it fixes that. You take this pill, right? So we're into that quick fix.
We all want the quick fix.
Exactly. But it doesn't work that way.
No.
Right?
Holistic medicine by nature is meant to treat the whole person and not a symptom.
Yeah.
And symptoms you can fix quicker than you can a whole person.
So spot on. Yeah.
Yeah, and how do we move the community back to realizing that we need to listen to the whole body? Because when you go to the hospital now, they're not treating the whole person. They're treating that symptom until you have another symptom and another symptom. And people are losing what's so important here is we have to take care of all of us, because without all of us, right,
Yeah.
we're not going to be whole.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I love when people throw around that love and light and everything's whole and complete, and I'm like, no.
I love that so much because I mean, there's obviously nothing wrong with the concepts of love and light.
Oh no, not at all.
And I was a big fan of that when I first started on this journey. I was like, oh yes, newly a yoga teacher, early 20s, and
Love
it was
and
like,
light to you,
love
baby.
and light,
love
yeah,
and light.
exactly.
I'm
And,
sending you love and light. I sign all my emails.
I was just gonna
love
say,
and light.
love and light, Hilary.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And so then, a couple of years into everything, I had, a number of these experiences where I just kind of saw through, if you will, all of the love and light facade in many ways. And I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm definitely, that's no longer going to be my email signature.
Yeah.
Not going to share that all over the place because, and again, it's not to say that that's not a lovely thing to promote. And I think it's also a way that people avoid feeling things, right? And so much in this holistic and spiritual world, we gain all of these beautiful tools for coping, right? We gain the tools to get by, to get through the moment, to navigate the struggle, and it can become muddied where we start to use always the breath or always the mantra or the meditation or the gratitude journaling to bypass feeling anything that feels not good. And in the work that I do, I think so much of that, we're circling back to, and what's this not good thing that we actually need to pause and focus on for a moment, not to get stuck there, not to dwell in the negative, but because it's a piece of us that hasn't been recognized, that we've been avoiding for so long.
Well, we need to feel safe in our bodies, and sometimes masking that safety, right, will cause us to put parameters like love and light around. Like, if I have the love and light, everything's going to be okay. Well, it should be eventually, but we got to put the work in, right?
I think, too, the words love and light in relation to Reiki practitioners. Yeah, Reiki is light. It's light energy healing, right? Mm-hmm. And Reiki is love, of course. And so when you become a Reiki practitioner, I think maybe the community believes that's all you are, is love and light. And no, hon, I'm human too. And there are times where love and light has no residence in my body. Usually not for too long a time, but yeah, and I think it's a misconception that once you are indoctrinated as a practitioner or something like that, that's all you see.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's true.
For someone who's never felt safe in their body, like truly safe in their body, how do you help someone feel safe in their body? What is some of the safety things somebody could do even just listening to this podcast? I know weighted blankets are a wonderful thing. They got a big hype for a little while there, but they're actually proven to really make a difference, right? Yeah. Obviously walking up to your best friend and giving them a hug for 5 seconds is a great way to feel safe in your own body too. But how do you also help people that come through the door feel safe in their own bodies, especially when they've never done anything like this before?
Yeah, and it shows up so much, right? If somebody comes for a Reiki session and they've never been still with themselves for any period of time, or they're really not comfortable with closing their eyes in the presence of another person, and there's that lack of safety there, it's going to be a lot harder for them to settle in and then receive that energy. And of course, Reiki is going to support that process, but there's other things that I like to pull in to just support that. So one of my favorites is looking for cues of danger and safety. So just if somebody is, arriving into my Reiki room and getting on the table, and I can tell that there's some uneasiness or maybe an inability to settle, is I'll invite them to just name what the cues of danger are. Which, you might think, how does that promote safety? But just by naming it and making it explicit rather than implicit is really helpful. So they might say, yeah, the sound of the truck outside feels like a cue of danger to me. There's something about that that's really unsettling. They don't have to know why. They might just notice that there's something about that low sound that's making their nervous system feel unsettled. It could also be, oh yeah, the sense of panic in my chest feels like a sense of danger. And then we go to, well, what's a cue? What are some cues of safety within and without? And they might say, the sound of the music in here feels like a cue of safety. And the touch of the soft blanket, on top of me feels like a cue of safety. And so we spend more time than kind of stretching out and being with those cues of safety. And that little bit, again, it sounds so simple, but that can be enough for their nervous system to just exhale and start to settle. And then, of course, Reiki will help to support the rest, right?
Absolutely.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So on your website, you talk about polyvagal theory and somatic experiencing. So for our listeners out there who are saying polyvagal what? Could you do a little explanation about what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So that cues of danger and safety actually is a polyvagal tool that I use. But so polyvagal theory is something that was created by Stephen Porges. It's a theory that was published by him in the 90s, and it speaks about the multiple branches of the vagus nerve and how these circuits impact our physical, mental, emotional experiences. So when we work with polyvagal theory, we start to understand that there are 3 circuits, which most of the time we're familiar with 2. We're familiar with the idea that we have this fight or flight system and we have a rest and digest system. And that's still true, but polyvagal theory is a little more nuanced, and it also speaks about how we have this freeze response and what that freeze response means in terms of how it shows up in our bodies and our minds, our emotions, our thoughts, how we see the world. So having this understanding of the different nervous system states that we are always moving between is really what that work is all about. And so when I'm sitting with someone and I have a sense that they're frozen, for example, it doesn't mean that they're physically frozen, but their speech might start to become really slow. They might tell me, oh, my head feels really fuzzy or foggy. I might feel in the resonance, in the energetic exchange, that they're having a hard time finding the words, or that their mind's not clear, and so that just represents the presence of this kind of third older circuit of the nervous system, this other branch of the vagus nerve, which is really the vagus nerve is what's at the center of the whole polyvagal theory. So it just gives us, it's just another tool for understanding the nervous system and the way that we respond to stress and trauma, and how that shows up moment to moment in the mind and the body.
Yeah. I know that the vagal nerve is something that I hear a lot. I know my sister-in-law is really into understanding that and utilizing it and untrapping it and all that kind of stuff to really help, I think, on a lot of different platforms within the body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some of the platforms that this would work with is like anxiety, losing your child, trauma, like anything that puts a trauma base around the nervous system, right?
Yeah.
If you like what you're hearing and want to check out more podcasts from Artist Haven Media, or are interested in recording a podcast at our studio, find out more information by visiting our website at artisthavenmedia.com.
Yeah, absolutely. And polyvagal theory is something that's helpful for literally anyone. I mean, somatic experiencing is too, but, if we were to take this example, if you wake up in the morning and, for whatever reason, you're feeling, there's a lot of, you're in the sympathetic part of the nervous system, right? That's our fight or flight response. Then that's going to color how you see the world, right? So you might look around at people that day and be like, God, everyone is so annoying. Or,
we don't have days like that.
No, none of us.
I have no clue what you're talking about.
But yeah, so you might say, everyone's so annoying, nothing is going my way, and, your body might feel more tense, your muscles might feel more tight. There might be more of a likelihood for you to, clench your teeth or, brace your shoulders. These are all, mental and physical patterns that are connected through the nervous system state that we're in. And then if we take the opposite, we woke up and we're more in the dorsal vagal, or more of that area that we're usually talking about when it comes to freeze, then, the world might seem really hopeless, right? You might be looking at the world like, why do I even bother getting out of bed today?
So stuck.
Yep. And your body might feel cold. You might feel just like slouched or slumped. You might just, your thought might be, what's the point? I'd rather just be on the couch watching Netflix. So
that was my morning today. No, I'm kidding.
So just having an understanding of, how the nervous system is coloring our moment-to-moment experience can be really empowering, right? Then it's no longer, why am I waking up stuck again? It's, this is a nervous system experience. This is a normal experience. And now how can I work with that? How can I support my system in moving closer to baseline or to regulation? So I think it's a really helpful tool for anybody.
It's even helpful for babies born from C-section as well, right? It moves all the nervous system into its, where it needs to be, correct? I mean, I know there's more professional words, but I'm trying to keep it so that people out there understand. So if a woman has a C-section, that baby is pulled out a different way than a natural birth. And so the nervous system doesn't form correctly. So have you been able to ever do this with a newborn that has been born by a C-section and adjust all the nervous system and the, just the way they arrive into this world, they're even kind of misshaped as well. Does that fall under some of working with this polyvagal and somatic energy because of the way things aren't done naturally, right?
Yeah, so somatic experiencing, more so than polyvagal theory, deals with like what are our innate bodily responses, right? And so if you take that example, a woman has an innate bodily response or reaction to birth a child. And so when birth doesn't happen in the natural way, and this is not to say that there's anything wrong with a C-section. I've had C-section. Yeah, I've had a C-section myself. But your body wants to experience the completion of that response, the birthing response. And so from a mother's perspective, we can use somatic experiencing to help the body experience completion of that natural process. And from a baby's perspective, the baby similarly has a natural process of how it finds its way out of the birth canal that involves certain movements and experiences. And so babies can also be supported using somatic experiencing to complete that process that they didn't get to complete. Yeah.
Do you think some of the colic that babies experience from even natural childbirth can be regulated with polyvagal or somatic? Have you had the opportunity to kind of work with that?
I haven't myself, and I've seen videos of Peter Levine, who's the creator of somatic experiencing, working with babies to help babies who are really fussy, or babies who, for example, don't have, there's one that comes to mind where the baby would never cry, would never have a normal cry. And so, babies when they're born, they have this first cry that they let out when they come out, and this baby never happened. And so through somatic work, then, this baby was able to experience that first cry and go through the process of moving the body in the ways that it needed to, and then became much more of a kind of typical baby.
Yeah.
So yes, it is.
Yeah.
There's lots that's possible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You use the word, actually both of you use the word regulate and regulation. And for someone who doesn't quite understand what regulation might feel like within their body, what would that feel like, regulation within the body?
Yeah.
And what do we mean when we say regulation?
Yeah.
Right. Right.
What is normal?
Right.
Because I have no idea anymore.
Yes, exactly.
Someone needs some somatic experience.
I think regulation is one of my least favorite words in this work because, just like normal, it feels like, well, let me regulate myself, right? And if we think about what regulate means in other terms, if we're talking about regulations of any kind, it's almost like a control over. And so I don't love that word. What I love more is to restore the natural rhythm of the nervous system.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's
very
very
poetic.
Oh,
there,
thank
Hilary.
you.
Especially somebody for anxiety prone, right?
Absolutely.
When you're anxiety prone, you're so far away from what regulation is, and it could almost be frightening to be regulated because your
Absolutely.
body hasn't felt that normal in so long. So it's so important to do work like this, like have Reiki sessions, have somatic, right? Because the more you can continue to search for what that normal is in your body, right?
Correct.
It's not normal for every same person. Everybody has a different baseline. And I think it's so important, as the three of us do healing, that we help them find their baseline, right? And so, yeah.
I've had that question asked to me before, like, is this what it's supposed
this
to feel
normal?
like? Is this supposed to be
Right.
normal?
It is.
I
for
get that
you.
question all the
You know,
time.
like having we're going to be married 40 years, my husband and I, so having a relationship
Amazing.
that's lasted a long time, we get that question, like, is this what's supposed to be happening in a normal marriage? Is this normal that I would, like, really get upset because he's chewing weird? Is that normal? You know? Or
My answer would be absolutely.
or the question, like, I've never had anybody care for me like this. So is it normal that my partner wants to do this? Like, I'm always the one to take, to do the grocery shopping and dinner. Now this person's come into my life and is doing it for me. Is this what a normal relationship's like? So I think you're right. What's normal for you and your body? And then when you experience something that isn't so anxiety prone or trauma based, you're like, I don't know if that's normal because I'm so used to the trauma.
Absolutely. Yeah. I often say the nervous system prefers what's familiar, even if familiar is not
Is
what's
trauma.
comfortable or
Healthy.
or healthy. Yeah, absolutely.
I think some people they start to own their trauma, and they are their trauma rather than wanting to release it.
Yeah, and I don't think, right, that there's any way to necessarily like even release trauma, but we can help the body move through whatever it needs to restore balance. And I also know what it's like. I used to work, part of my work in the world used to be going around and telling my trauma story to help others, right? Just like how in AA, for example, we share our experience, strength, and hope to help others, right? And so my job was to go around and to talk to other people who were currently in mental health treatment and be an example of what's possible in terms of healing. And that was beautiful, and that was really important for my healing journey to come to terms with what I'd been through. And at a certain point, I started to over-identify with what I'd been through. And so I had to distance myself from that because, like you said, you don't want to become your traumatic experiences either.
I noticed this when I work with cancer patients for Harvard Hospital, and in one of the support groups, there was discussion going on because they're all trying to support each other.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the women said, you've got to be careful how you talk about your cancer because you're not the cancer. You are, Jane Smith, who is experiencing cancer right now, but you're not Jane Smith, the cancer patient. You're not the cancer. You
Right.
are, it might be bumping into your life. And I think when you make those designations, you send your body signals, right, through psychoneural immunology, our PNI, our mind that starts to tell ourselves, we're not that. We're trying to deal with it. We're not that. And so the body will respond in a more healthy way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think there's a percentage of people, though, that keep the trauma because they like the attention. And I'm not saying that's everybody out there, but there is a small percentage where you can see the Reiki has helped and the things you do has helped and the sound healing has helped and just talking about everything and moving forward. And instead of putting the work in, they'd rather just be the traumatized person. And I feel sad for people that aren't willing to move past that they believe in their illness so much that they're not willing to look at anything else. And there is hope out there for anybody listening that you can change, you can get into a routine, you can get a new pattern and not feel traumatized or living your dis-ease, right? As we say in Reiki, it's not disease, it's dis-ease in the body, right? And where it comes from.
Yeah, and I think that can happen for so many reasons. Like what we often see, right, is like someone who's in, mental health treatment or trauma treatment who perhaps like didn't have a really good family or much of a family at all growing up. their treatment team becomes their family. And so then if they all of a sudden are healed, what happens to their family that they've built around them, their community that they've built around them of treatment providers?
Exactly.
There's so many different reasons that can happen. And, but what you ended with there around, like, there's always hope. I am such a firm believer in that, because I have tried so many things and had so many different, ups and downs along this journey that I've been on for so many years now. And if there's one conclusion that I've come to, is that there's always a fit for someone out there, right? Whether it's Reiki, whether it's somatic experiencing, whether it's EMDR, what works for me might not be the thing that works for you. But in this, modern day world, there's so many options out there. I really, truly do believe that there's something
And that goes
out
for
there
everything,
for everyone.
right?
Yes.
There's a person for everyone.
Yes.
There is, foods for everyone.
Yes.
There's everyone has so many different experiences of life. And, is there a moment in time you can think of off the cuff where, like, you walked out of that Reiki session or whatever session you're offering and you're like, wow, I can think of several sessions where after I was done doing the healings, like, walked out the door and into the living room to get, a glass of water, and, like, the profound feeling of, like, wow, it wasn't just for the client up on the table. I too had this profound moment of, like, epiphany, I guess. Have you felt like that? And does it happen a lot for you? Or is it something like, because we do a lot of repetitive things, like every now and then things just stand out?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, given that I've come to kind of specialize, right, in Reiki for trauma, I have a lot of sessions that are really heavy, and I walk away being like, whew, that was a lot,
Yes.
that was a lot. And I love my work, and that's also just, there's a lot of suffering in the world, and that can, weigh on you. So I've certainly had a number of sessions that stand out where it just feels like, oh, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, and this person is exactly where they're supposed to be, and to just give someone the support that they need to be able to navigate something, and sometimes it is these big aha moments, where you walk out and you're like, wow, that was powerful.
Yeah.
And some come to mind. And then there's also the ones where it's like slowly over time, right?
Yeah.
Where this one client comes to mind who, she started seeing me very shortly after her husband passed away. And I just remember in that moment that, the first time I met her, it seemed like she was frozen in time, right? She had an inability in that moment to move forward. It was like a part of her was kind of stuck in that moment where her husband had passed, and she didn't want to move on. She didn't want to, distance herself from him. And, that's so understandable. And then, we did Reiki weekly for a year, and I just remember week after week seeing the light return in her eyes, and like hearing her, make travel plans again, and just all of these things where each time it was like a little bit brighter and a little bit brighter, and I got to see more of her. So yeah, sometimes it's these like big aha moments, and other times it's this like slow, incremental change over time where you look back months later and you're like, wow, like this doesn't even seem like the
Slow
same
and
person.
steady wins the
Yes,
race, right?
exactly. I think as practitioners, we've all had that experience of the big wow, that really happened. For me, whether it's angelic energy just kind of coursing through my body at that time for somebody, which is just an amazing experience. And you're like, okay, that really happened.
Yeah.
And then the clients that you have over a sustained period of time, and like you said, you see that progress happening. We've all had clients, I can think of a handful right now that they come to you whether they can't speak, and all of a sudden now they have their voice. Not all of a sudden, but over time they've returned to their voice, or like you said, they've lost somebody, and over time they are now ready to embrace their life. And you've had a part in that. And I also think that you see that type of progression happen when you have clients that are really ready to work for it and do the work that happens. So often we get people that come in on the table and they expect us to fix them. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we're part of the fixing, but we're not the entirety of it. And I think when we send them back with, you need to do this for yourself or help this, those that listen and do, they find that progression happens for them. As a professional, for someone who is really wanting to help themselves at home, maybe help with their nervous system a bit, what's something you could tell them they could do at their home that, support their nervous system, something daily they could do at home to support their nervous system, what do you think that would be? If you were to give a nugget of advice.
Yes. So, one just kind of like big overarching, which most adults cringe at, is to incorporate more play into your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ooh, I cringe at that. I thought you were going to say drink more water. I'm like,
No,
oh God,
no,
if I told
no.
to drink more water. We're laughing because our man behind the screen there is saying yes.
Showing us
He's
his
showing
D&D
his-
collection.
Dungeon and Dragon dice that he uses for his own podcast on Dungeons and Dragons. But yes, if you're a big, play. I thought you were going to say like drink more water or
No,
eat
because-
more fruits and vegetables. I'm like, oh my God, if I have to have one more salad.
No, I think a lot of adults, though, actually do have a really hard time with play. And I love that I'm in the company of people who don't feel that way. But I often say that to people, and there's like a silent eye roll because it's like, we're adults and we're busy and we don't have time for that. And that's the work of children, not adults. But play from a nervous system standpoint creates flexibility in your nervous system. So that's a great thing. And if you're looking for something more like a tool, coherent breathing is something that has a lot of research behind it. And so that's like the inhale for a count of 5, exhale for a count of 5. There's a lot of research behind that particular practice in terms of its ability to increase heart rate variability or improve heart rate variability, which is a sign of stress resilience, right? So that's a good tool. But I think again we have to like watch out and pay attention to whether we're engaging tools for the purpose of making it through in the moment, which is really important, right? Say you're at work or you're at home with your kids and it's like the anxiety is just at a 10 out of 10 and you feel like you can't even function. Yeah, reaching for a tool in that moment is like a life raft, and that's going to get you through and help you to do the day and do the things, right? And if all you ever do is that, you're never going to get to the point where you figure out what is causing that anxiety in the first place. So I think learning to balance, how we utilize our tools is very important, because sometimes we need a little bit of that activation in the system to be able to work with it and then get through it and figure out what's causing it all. So that's another I guess tool or suggestion that I would make is to explore, right? Just like explore what it is that's coming up and see what it's like to sit with it, even if you only sit with it for 5 seconds and that's all that you can do.
You just got to change the energy around you, right? Exactly. As somebody who, for somebody listening who often feels stuck or overwhelmed or disconnected, we always tell them, just begin, just make the appointment. But until you're brave enough to make that appointment, there are things out there that you can do, right? You can put on happy music. You could eat fruit that makes you happy or food that makes you happy. Maybe try to stick with healthier food, right? But and of course, drink your water. But
appeal to your sacral chakra more, what brings you pleasure.
Right, right. But go outside and throw a Frisbee. Go ask your friend if you can play with their dog. You know what I mean? Or if there's children around you, go play with the kids, right? Throw the ball with them or crawl on the floor, right?
Yeah.
There's so many things that can bring joy. So if you're feeling stuck, do something that brings you joy and then you can start moving forward, right? That's the first step too. What do you think?
Yeah. I think that stuckness is a really common experience, and especially, I sit with a lot of people who have been in what we call functional freeze, meaning that they're not frozen in the moment, and yet there's a part of them that still has some of that freeze energy from past experiences where that's what their nervous system did to protect them, and that can lead to chronic procrastination and some of these other things where people really.
I don't know. Ethan and I are really good at that procrastination stuff.
I'm a professional at procrastinating.
Professional.
At the procrastinating.
Yeah. I love it. And so sometimes, if that is the kind of day-to-day experience is a lot of that stuckness, we have to work to kind of thaw that freeze. And so starting small can be helpful there. So something like, if you don't feel like you're able to get out and see a friend, for example, then, you can take the small step of sending a text or making a phone call, or imagine sitting with a friend. So sometimes it's like, starting small and working your way up, like you've talked about. And sometimes it's about bringing more energy into the system. So when we think about freeze, often from a nervous system standpoint, it's an energy conservation state. It's a place where our body is doing everything to conserve energy as a way to survive. And so you can think of it as there's low energy, so to bring balance, we would need to add more energy. So things that help you to feel more awake, more alive, more present in the moment are really helpful. So that could be something like self-massage. It could be something like, certain breathing practices that are more stimulating. It could be something that makes your muscles wake up and work, and that could be something as simple as like pushing into a wall or, a door frame. So things that slowly start to and gently awaken the body could be really helpful when we just can't get started. It's like we need that little boost of energy to get going.
All right, so let's get a little personal now. When we talk about life hitting hard, and everybody has those days where life gets real tough.
Yeah.
And maybe we can all share what are our personal practices that we go to when life hits hard. And so I'll be brave and be first to share. When it's a tough day for me, I'm very water oriented. So believe it or not, I will wash dishes. I will do something where water is running over me. If it's hot enough and the pool's open, I might go float, but I'm very much a water person, so I tend to go to something, or shower even. And beyond that, I tend to want to sink into something very creative, art-based. I'm really happy when my hands are inky or full of adhesive, let's put it that way. So, but those are my go-tos when life gets hard. My first initial is water. I need to feel some water. I'm just curious, when life hits you hard, what's your go-to?
Yeah. I'm a water person too, and water is so soothing to me.
Even just listening to the ocean.
Oh,
would be enough
absolutely.
for me. I would like to be there, but since my house isn't on the beach, even though I have a beach room, which is silly, but okay. Even listening to it is helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rain. We've had the rain, and I have to be honest, I love listening to it.
I do too. Yeah, and I'm gonna think about that in the future and how I can use water more, because I'm definitely the person that I step near a body of water and I immediately feel a sense of settling, and yet I don't have water in or around. Like, I don't have any water near my home, so that's a lovely thing for me. Exactly. It's a lovely thing for me to think about incorporating. Yeah. You find me in the backyard.
On a slip and slide, right?
You said to be
There
more
you go,
playful.
inner child on the slip and slide
now
with the
we're,
water.
Now we're checking all the boxes.
And your kids will love you.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So I think that, Reiki is something that I use. I was just sharing, I just shared a post yesterday about this, but, I was having a moment the other day. I have 3 little kids, so there's a lot of days where life hits hard. I love my children. They're wonderful. And it's also, childhood is chaotic. Yeah, it's very stressful. And so, it was one of those mornings where, there was a lot of big feelings. There was a lot of stress. And, I was breathing, which is a tool that I often turn towards. And my daughter was like, "Mommy, give yourself some Reiki." And she's,
don't you love?
Oh,
the innocent
it's so
yeah.
beautiful. She's 7, and I just was like, "Oh my God, this is the best thing ever." And so it was just like the pure mention of that. There's just this simple suggestion. I was like, "Oh, right, of course, and but sometimes life is literally just so busy. That in that moment I was driving to bring the kids somewhere and get to a meeting, and so I just put my hands on myself, and that was wonderful. And what else? I do, like I said, use the breath a lot. I think most of us do naturally, right? When we're stressed, we sigh more, and so I'll breathe with my kids when everybody collectively needs a little help settling. And yeah,
That's good.
that's what comes to mind for me.
Good. I think a lot of people are have a misconception about Reiki and self healing, that it needs to be this serene thing where you're sitting all quiet. But
Yeah.
to be honest, I've been raking my arthritic hands this whole podcast because they're in pain. So why not? And it can fit so easily into your day when you're having some sort of experience.
And I think it depends on the day.
Yeah. For
There's-
you?
Yeah, for me, it's something that I work with all the time is anxiety and having the nervous system be off balance. And so sometimes it's getting on the kayak, and the perspective from the shore is one thing, but when you're in a kayak looking back at the shore, it's a totally different perspective, whether that's down at the beach or I love to paddle down at Quanatock in Rhode Island because there's the sand flats and you can just go all around the bay. And I also live near Coventry Lake, so I can go put my kayak down in the lake. But sometimes it's not that. Sometimes I don't have the physical strength to do the kayak because there's a lot of work to put up on the car, right? Sometimes it's just going out in the yard and blowing bubbles. I find such joy, again, childlike joy, just blowing bubbles. It's like the simplest technique, but yet there's something so beautiful about that. I think my other way is I love to walk in the woods. Very much a water and earth person. So
You're an
like,
earth baby.
yeah, and I love finding a weeping willow tree and just leaning up against it and sitting with a weeping willow and listening to the trees, you know what I mean? Or walking barefoot in the grass. Like there's so many different things. And as we talk about this, we'd love for our listeners to chime in and tell us how you guys, ground and find ways to calm and let go of bad days and whatnot. Because everybody has their own thing. And it's never the same thing, though. Like I could sit here all day with you and just tell you all my coping skills.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And like you
But-
said, it's different day to day and,
It is.
situation to situation.
Yeah, but never do I forget to put my own Reiki hands on my own self. And if I don't feel that I can settle myself enough, then obviously it's I come and see Lisa or I talk to other Reiki practitioners and we trade or we do something where we can settle each other. And sometimes it's just a hug, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just you want a hug. You find your best friend and just hug me.
Hold on tight.
Hold on tight because
Hold
I'm
on
about
tight.
to cry.
Well, before we wrap up this part of the podcast, I do want to be really transparent with our listeners that Heather and I have met you before.
Yeah.
And we're in a wonderful collaboration to bring some events to your
Beautiful
space.
studio.
And what I like when we step through your doors is that Resonance Healing Arts just isn't a place to receive services. You're trying to build community there.
Yeah.
And so I'd like you to talk a little bit about how you are attempting to build community and what that's like for your center.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have felt, personally in other communities that I've been a part of, this just the deep importance of feeling that sense of belonging in a space, right? Having a space where you can show up and people know your name. It's like Cheers.
Yeah.
And, but
music.
yes, exactly. But truly, where you show up and people are happy to see you and you feel like you can be your full self and you can bring your full self to that space. And I found immense healing from having spaces where I could do that. And so that's really what I'm trying to create for other people is a place where, they can come through the door and be greeted by name and feel like they can bring all of themselves to that space. And build relationships because we all need people, right?
We need
We
a
all
tribe.
need a tribe. And yeah, that's what our events are really all about. I mean, who doesn't love to get together and do some cool spiritual stuff, but I mean, so much of it too is about being able to show up to those events and see the same people and have those people be excited to see you and learn and heal together.
I think we feel the same way, right, Lisa?
Yeah, we do. We try to build community, and we have certain people that
Support us
support
unconditionally.
and because of that,
Yeah.
because they found their tribe, so to speak.
Yeah.
All right, so before we end, we want to give you an opportunity to tell us what's on the horizon for Hilary and Resonance Healing Arts, what's coming up for you, Any events you'd like to share? Anything you're learning and are going to be bringing into your center?
Yeah. So, well, we've got your wonderful events lined up, and I'm very excited about all of those.
Tomorrow.
So yes, and then we've got Soul Collage in August, and we have the gallery reading in October. So I'm excited about all of those. We do something annually called a community healing clinic, and so it's our goal that day is just to offer Reiki for free to as many people as possible.
Oh, when is that?
So
that?
September 26th, that's
Very
a
good.
Saturday. And this year we're doing it as a fundraiser for Opportunity Works Connecticut. So if you're not familiar with them, they are right here in Rockville, and they work with folks with a variety of different needs and help them in a variety of ways. And so it's a donation-based thing where, if you can't give anything and you just want Reiki, great, but any donations that are made will go to them. So they're mini sessions. They're about 25 minutes, but anybody can come and receive one. So you
The
can
first come, first serve? Or
you have to sign up in advance, and we give you a specific time slot. And
Where do they sign up?
they can sign up on the website,
And what's the website?
resonancehealingarts.com. Yeah, thank you for that. So so that's something exciting. And then in 2027, I will be launching a training for Reiki practitioners, people who are already Reiki trained, teaching them how to work more skillfully with folks who've experienced trauma. And so it's not a Reiki training. It's for people who are already doing this work but really want to learn how to better support individuals with trauma. So I'm really excited about that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I don't think we've had much of that in this area, so that's good. That's really good. Yeah.
Thank you.
And if anybody wanted to reach out and get in touch with you, is it best to go through the website? Or?
Yeah. On the website has my phone number and email and our schedule and registration links and all of that.
We like to end our podcast with a pulling of an affirmation. Would you like to pull one?
Ooh, I would love to.
Let's hear what you get. Let's see what you got.
Give light and people will find the way.
Right?
Oh my God, I love that.
That's
You're
good.
Over here going, love
Love
and
and
light.
light. I know. Give just the right amount of love and light, and people will find the way.
Well, that goes back to people finding the right person to help them in the right
Absolutely.
time. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
And I do believe that. I believe everything comes at the right time, at the right moment, at the right price. And there's no coincidences.
For sure.
Whether it's Reiki, whether it's spiritual work, psychic work, there's no coincidences. And that has been proven to me time and time again, over and over, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We're so grateful.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
having me.
Thank you for joining us, and for our listeners out there, we look forward to being in your ears next week. Until then, let's get ready to connect.
Thank you for tuning in to Ready to Connect. If you're interested in exclusive behind-the-scenes content, be sure to like, share, and follow us on social media by searching for Ready to Connect Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And for those looking to further support our podcast, consider subscribing to our Patreon at patreon.com/readytoconnectpodcast. And until next time, get ready to connect.